What if I told you there's a place where the sun never sets? A place where it shines day and night without a single cloud to block its path. This place isn't some fantasy world from a storybook. It's real. And it's just a few hundred kilometers above your head. It's space. Up there, the sun is a constant, reliable source of immense power. It pours out more energy in a single second than humanity has used in its entire history. We see a tiny fraction of that energy here on Earth. The rest radiates out into the vast, cold emptiness of the cosmos, mostly unused. It's a cosmic waterfall of power, flowing endlessly. Now imagine we could build a net to catch that energy. Not just the little bit that makes it to us, but the full, unfiltered fire hose of solar radiation. This is the core idea behind space-based solar power. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, a concept dreamed up for a futuristic movie. But it's a very real idea that scientists and engineers are seriously working on today. The concept is both simple and breathtakingly ambitious. We build giant solar panels in orbit, collect sunlight 24/7, and then send that energy down to Earth. It's a radical solution to one of humanity's biggest problems. Think about our world's insatiable hunger for energy. We need it for everything. So, how does this incredible system actually work? How do we get power from a satellite floating 36,000 kilometers away? You can think of the whole thing as a giant three-part machine. The first part is the collector, which lives in space. This is the gigantic solar power satellite itself. Its primary job is simple, to soak up as much sunlight as it possibly can. The second is the transmitter, which sends the energy on its long journey. The electricity is channeled to a special antenna on the satellite. This antenna converts the electrical energy into a focused beam of high-frequency radio waves, or microwaves. And the third part is the receiver, which waits patiently on the ground. This giant grid is called a rectenna, a name that perfectly describes its function. It's an antenna that also rectifies or converts the incoming energy. All of this electricity is then pooled together and fed directly into our power grid, ready to light up our homes and power our world. It's an elegant end to an incredible journey. The whole system, from sun to satellite to ground, forms a seamless chain of energy conversion and transmission across thousands of kilometers of space. To truly understand why we might go to all the trouble of building power plants in space, we need to compare them to what we already have right here on Earth. So, let's imagine two identical solar panels. Our earthbound panel has a pretty good life. The Mojave is one of the sunniest places on the planet. On a clear day, it soaks up sunlight for about 12 hours. But then, the sun sets. For the next 12 hours, our panel sits in the dark, doing nothing. Now let's check on its twin in space. From its vantage point high above, the Earth completes a full rotation every 24 hours, creating day and night below. But for our space panel, the sun never sets. It is bathed in brilliant, uninterrupted sunlight, hour after hour, day after day. There's another more subtle reason why a solar panel in space is better than one on the ground. It has to do with the air you're breathing right now. Earth's atmosphere is our life support system. But for a solar panel, the atmosphere is a bit of a problem. It acts like a hazy filter. The sunlight that reaches your face is a dimmed, filtered version of what exists in space. On a perfectly clear day, at noon, at the equator, the solar intensity on the ground is about 1,000 watts per square meter. In space, that number is closer to 1,400 watts per square meter. When you multiply all these advantages together, a single square meter of solar panel in geostationary orbit could generate as much electricity in a year as about 8 square meters of panels in a sunny location on Earth. It's an incredible force multiplier. So far, space-based solar power sounds like a perfect solution. It seems too good to be true. And as with most things that sound too good to be true, there are catches. Big ones. The first and perhaps greatest challenge is gravity. Anything we want to put into space, we have to lift. And lifting things out of Earth's deep gravity well is incredibly, astronomically expensive. This is the single biggest barrier standing in our way. A single, full-sized solar power satellite would be massive. It would weigh thousands or even tens of thousands of tons. But something amazing has happened in recent years. Companies like SpaceX have revolutionized the launch industry with reusable rockets. By landing and reflying their boosters, they have dramatically slashed the cost of getting to space. This is the key that has unlocked the door and made this idea plausible again. Let's say we solve the launch cost problem. Now we face the next monumental challenge. You can't launch a satellite that's several kilometers wide in one piece. It has to be launched as a collection of smaller parts and then assembled in the hostile environment of space. The only realistic way to build something on this scale is with advanced robotics. Instead, we envision fleets of specialized construction robots. These autonomous machines would be launched along with the components. They would unpack the parts, transport them into position, and then connect them together. There's one final challenge, and it's one that is growing worse every year. Space is not as empty as it seems. The orbits around Earth are becoming increasingly cluttered with junk. A giant solar power satellite would be a massive target in this cosmic shooting gallery. Perhaps the most exciting and concrete progress in recent years has come from the California Institute of Technology, or Caltech. Backed by a significant philanthropic donation, a dedicated team embarked on a project to build and launch a prototype that could actually demonstrate the key technologies for space solar power in orbit. In early 2023, their hard work paid off. SSPD-1 was launched into orbit. One of its key experiments was called Maple. The goal was to prove that they could precisely control a beam of energy and transmit it from one point to another in space. The moment of truth came a few months into the mission. The experiment worked. Then, in a historic first, the system directed a beam towards Earth. A sensitive receiver on the roof of a Caltech engineering building successfully detected the signal. It was the first time energy had been beamed from a spaceborne solar experiment and received on the ground. The pioneering work at Caltech is not happening in isolation. Around the globe, other nations are recognizing the immense strategic importance of space-based solar power and are launching their own ambitious programs. This is quickly becoming a global endeavor. In Asia, China has declared its ambition to become a leader in this field. The country has laid out a multi-stage plan named Bishan, which aims to have a functional megawatt-level testing system in orbit by 2030 and a full-scale gigawatt-level commercial system by 2050. Europe is also making significant strides. The European Space Agency has initiated a program called Solaris to study the feasibility of developing a European space solar power capability. The United Kingdom has shown strong interest, with private companies developing detailed concepts for commercially viable systems. So how do we get from today's small-scale demonstrators to the planet-powering gigawatt satellites of the future? The path forward is an incremental one, a series of carefully planned, progressively larger steps. Each step will build on the successes of the last, proving out the technology and retiring risk. The next logical step is to build and launch a medium-scale prototype. This satellite would be significantly larger than Caltech's SSPD-1, but still much smaller than a commercial plant. Its purpose would be to transmit a more substantial amount of power, perhaps a few kilowatts or even a megawatt, down to a dedicated ground station. After a successful medium-scale test, the next phase would be a pilot plant. This would be the first system designed to operate continuously and deliver a commercially relevant amount of power to the grid. Its success would prove the business case for space solar power, demonstrating that it can be a reliable and economically competitive source of energy. Imagine a world where energy is no longer a source of conflict or a limit on our dreams. Picture a future where electricity is so clean, so plentiful, and so cheap that it's almost like the air we breathe. This is the world that space-based solar power promises to create. Think about the basic necessities of life. Water, for instance. Billions of people live in regions with severe water stress. In a world powered by cheap, abundant space solar that changes. We could build enormous desalination plants along coastlines, turning endless seawater into fresh water. Deserts could bloom. We could end water scarcity for good. This abundance would also transform our industries and our cities. We could build vertical farms in the hearts of our cities, growing fresh food locally, year-round. Our homes and buildings could become perfectly climate-controlled, not as a luxury, but as a standard for everyone, everywhere. For more than a century, our progress has been fueled by burning fossil fuels. This has powered our civilization, but it has come at a terrible cost to our planet. Space solar power, represents a tool so powerful it could allow us to go beyond just stopping the damage. It could give us the power to actively start healing the planet. With ultra-cheap, abundant energy from space, we could build Daisy farms around the world, actively removing billions of tons of legacy carbon from the air. This is a truly profound idea. It means we might not just be able to stabilize our climate, but to restore it. We could, over time, bring atmospheric CO2 levels back down towards pre-industrial levels. This could help to restabilize polar ice sheets, protect coral reefs from ocean acidification, and give countless species a fighting chance at survival. Space solar power could be the key that unlocks our role as responsible stewards of planet Earth. The impact of space solar power would not be confined to Earth. The very act of building this colossal infrastructure in orbit would fundamentally change our relationship with space itself. Building gigawatt-scale power plants in orbit would force us to create a robust, sustainable, and affordable industrial ecosystem beyond our own atmosphere. This infrastructure, once created for building power satellites, would be a permanent new capability for humanity. With abundant energy available in orbit, missions to the Moon or Mars become dramatically easier and cheaper. The solar system would open up to us in a way it never has before. In solving our energy problems on Earth, we would simultaneously be building the highway to the stars. We would be transforming ourselves from a species confined to one planet into a species with a real future among the planets. The quest for clean energy on Earth could be the very thing that propels us into our future as a multiplanetary civilization. We stand at a unique moment in history, a pivotal crossroads for our civilization. The path behind us is clear, paved with the incredible progress fueled by burning the ancient carbon stored within our planet. But we now see its destination, a future of climate instability and resource scarcity. The story of space-based solar power is more than just a fascinating engineering challenge. It is a vivid illustration of one of those hopeful paths, a testament to human ingenuity and our capacity to solve the very problems we create. It's a choice we get to make. This grand idea, once the domain of science fiction, is now slowly but surely crystallizing into a real and tangible possibility. By building colossal power plants in the sky, we could provide constant, abundant, and clean electricity for everyone on Earth. The challenges are, without a doubt, monumental. The cost, the complexity of robotic construction in the void, the threat of space debris, and the need for unprecedented international cooperation are all significant hurdles. They are perhaps the greatest technological and political tests our species has ever faced. But humanity has a long history of rising to meet such challenges. We have built pyramids, crossed oceans, split the atom, and walked on the moon. The journey to space solar power will be a long one, built on incremental steps, from small demonstrators like Caltech's to pilot plants and eventually to a global network of celestial power stations. Each step will be a victory for science and collaboration. Ultimately, the quest for space solar power is about more than just energy. It is about the kind of future we want to build. Do we want a future defined by limits, competition, and the consequences of our past? Or do we choose a future of abundance, cooperation, and expansion? By looking up to the sun and daring to dream on a cosmic scale, we are not just designing a new power source. We are forging a new destiny. We are taking the first bold steps to becoming responsible stewards of our planet and perhaps a true spacefaring civilization. The sun shines on us every day, offering a limitless promise. We just have to be bold enough to go up there and get it.